In the summer of 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus thought they had found the kind of house people spend their lives dreaming about. The six-bedroom colonial at 657 Boulevard wasn't just a home, it was a statement. It sat on one of the most prestigious streets in Westfield, New Jersey, a picturesque town known for its wealth, safety, and picture-book suburban charm. Westfield had been ranked as one of the best places to live in the United States. With its tree-lined avenues, top-rated schools, and historic homes, it was the kind of community where families put down roots and children rode bicycles down safe streets. Maria had grown up there, and she wanted her children to have the same idyllic upbringing. Derek, who had just earned a senior vice president role at an insurance firm in Manhattan, saw the house as a reward for years of hard work. At $1.3 million, it was expensive, but it was meant to be their forever home. But before they could even unpack their boxes, before the children could choose their bedrooms, the dream began to crumble. 3 days after closing on the house, Derek stopped by one evening to check on renovations. Contractors were busy updating the kitchen and painting the walls. On his way out, Derek noticed a white envelope in the mailbox. No return address. The words on the front read, "The new owner." Inside, the letter began innocently enough. "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." But the tone quickly darkened. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. The letter rambled with cryptic threats and eerie familiarity. Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? The writer claimed that their family had watched the house for generations. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s. My father watched the house in the 1960s. It is now my time. Then the most disturbing line. I see you have children. Once I know their names, I will call to them. Derek froze. Someone had been close enough to notice his kids. They were ages 5, 8, and 10, vulnerable, innocent, and now apparently under surveillance. That night, Derek and Maria couldn't sleep. The house that was supposed to represent security suddenly felt like a trap. The Broadduses contacted the Westfield Police Department immediately. A detective came to the house, read the letter, and admitted it was unlike anything he had ever seen. He instructed Derek to keep the details private, especially from neighbors, because almost anyone on the street could be a suspect. And that was part of the terror. The watcher didn't feel distant. They felt close. When Derek asked around, one neighbor mentioned that the family who sold the house, the Woodses, had also received one strange letter, though nothing threatening. They had brushed it off. The Broadduses weren't so lucky. 2 weeks later, another envelope appeared. Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload carloads of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will. The writer seemed to mock them, noting details only someone nearby could know. I see that your daughter paints on an easel in the sunroom. Is she the artist of the family? The language was both childish and sinister, filled with strange phrasing, but the intent was unmistakable. The Broadduses were being stalked. The couple was now paralyzed. They couldn't move in with their children. It felt unsafe. But they couldn't sell the house either. Who would buy $1 million property with a stalker attached to it? They hired private investigators, including former FBI agents, to conduct surveillance. They studied neighbors with binoculars, ran DNA tests from the letters, and even conducted handwriting analysis. The DNA matched a woman, but investigators couldn't narrow it down to anyone specific. The leads always ended in dead ends. Meanwhile, the letters kept coming. The third letter referenced their 3 children directly. I am pleased to know your names now, and the names of the young blood you have brought me. You certainly say their names often. The watcher asked about specific renovations and criticized their choices. They referenced things that couldn't be seen from the street, which suggested the stalker might have been close, possibly even inside the house at some point. The letters also spoke about ownership, as if the watcher believed the house wasn't really the Broadduses, but theirs by blood right. It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard. My father watched in the 1960s, but now it is my time. I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. The letters gave the family the chilling impression that they weren't just being stalked, they were being studied. As months passed, the Broadduses unraveled under the pressure. Maria developed anxiety and depression. Derek admitted he sometimes stayed up late at night, staring out the windows, wondering which shadow belonged to the watcher. Their children, too young to fully understand, grew restless. Why weren't they allowed to play in the big backyard? Why couldn't they sleep in their new rooms? The parents couldn't tell them the truth, that someone out there wanted them, or worse, wanted to harm them. Even neighbors began whispering. Some thought the Broadduses were exaggerating. Others suspected they had written the letters themselves in order to back out of the expensive purchase. The couple felt trapped, not only by the watcher, but by their own community. In 2015, the Broadduses tried to sell the house, but word of the watcher had leaked and potential buyers backed out. They considered demolishing the property and splitting it into 2 lots, but the planning board rejected the proposal after public hearings. Lawsuits followed. The Broadduses even sued the previous owners, claiming they had failed to disclose the original letter. But the case was thrown out. By now, the story had become national news. Journalists camped outside the house. The watcher had become a legend. For 5 years, the Broadduses lived in limbo. They rented the house to tenants, who also reported receiving ominous letters, though none as threatening as the originals. Finally, in 2019, they sold the house for $959,000, far less than they had paid. The new owners have not publicly reported receiving letters, though whispers persist that the watcher's eyes are still out there, unseen, waiting. Despite endless speculation, the case remains unsolved. Some theories include a disgruntled neighbor who resented newcomers disrupting the quiet community, a jealous bidder who lost the house during the sale and wanted revenge, a family member of the previous owners with a twisted attachment to the home. The Broadduses themselves, though police found no evidence to support this conspiracy theory. A true generational stalker, exactly what the letters claimed, a family who had watched the house for nearly a century. The truth remains hidden. The Watcher House has seeped into American pop culture. The story was covered in major outlets, podcasts, and even dramatized by Netflix. People are fascinated by it because it touches on primal fears: home, family, and safety. The Broadduses bought a house, but what they inherited was a curse, a faceless enemy who never revealed themselves, never demanded money, never showed their face. All they wanted was to watch. And perhaps that's the most terrifying part.